Welcome to the Unapologetic Entrepreneurship podcast, where we believe that as entrepreneurs, we get to decide what our business and our life looks like.
And we get to be unapologetic about it.
You're your own boss, so why are you waiting for permission to do things your way?
Here, we ditch the shoulds. No more building a business that looks good on paper but feels bad in your body.
No more following someone else's strategy just because it worked for them or chasing someone else's version of success.
I'm Delia.
And I'm Joana, and this is not just another business strategy podcast.
We are going so much deeper.
We'll be talking about identity, purpose, our inner worlds, and designing a business around the life you actually want to live.
Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Unapologetic Entrepreneurship podcast. And today we want to talk all about why you keep attracting the wrong clients and how to fix it. And Joanna, I want to ask you about this because this is something you see a lot with your students inside Ambitious Creatives Book Solid, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I want to talk about what I see happens when you work with bad fit clients. So when you take on clients that are not a great fit, and we'll get into like why sometimes we do anyway, knowing in advance that like, oh, red flag. When you attract clients that are not a great fit, it can have a negative spiral in your business. And it could actually be quite detrimental to your growth, your motivation, how you show up in your business. Because, I mean, you can even think about it yourself, Delia. When you've had clients that haven't been a good fit, things start happening like you get an email from them and your body kind of contracts and you start resenting having to work on that project. When you know you're going to have to work on that project the next day, maybe you don't sleep as well. Maybe you don't have that energy in the morning that you're like, oh, can't wait to go to work. And because you're not working on projects that light you up or people that respect you and they're not a good fit for many reasons, you're inevitably not going to do your best work. You're not going to be as motivated. You're going to start resenting the client, but then you can start resenting your day-to-day and your business. And if you're in that space, you're not going to promote it as much. You're not going to have the energy and motivation to go out and be seen and do the things you need to do to grow your business. On the reverse side of that, if you have a good filter in place to only work with great fit clients that light you up, it can have a positive effect on your business. And it's kind of like a snowball, right? You work on a project that lights you up with a client that is aligned with you on a lot of levels and that respects you, that gives you creative autonomy, that respects your boundaries. You're going to want to jump out of bed in the morning to work on that project. You're going to be lit up. That energy is going to help you create your best work. And by creating your best work, you're going to be excited to share it with the world. You're going to be excited to present it to the client. And that client is going to feel that energy and is going to think, wow, I really hired the right service provider. I am really getting like an amazing value for what I paid for this service. And they're going to be more likely to also then spread the word to like-minded clients. And so you can see how like the two sides of the coin, on one hand, it can have a really negative effect on your business. On the other hand, it can have a positive effect on your business. So now the question, why do some business owners keep attracting or even accepting to work with the wrong clients?
Right. Why do we do it? I know why I've done it before. I can share.
Go for it, because it's probably the main reason.
I have been on discovery calls before with someone, and for whatever reason, I got the red flag, right? Maybe it was an energy thing, that just something felt off kilt, or I felt their expectations were probably too high. And you know, when that moment when you can see and feel that they've got these super high expectations, you just got that feeling like they'll never be happy with anything you deliver, no matter how good it is. And I've still said yes to the project because I needed the money. Like, it was a bit of a cash flow thing, right? You're looking at your books and, you know, I've talked about this before, single mom, no other second income in our house. So I would love to be super, super fussy, but it's hard sometimes, right? Is that the number one reason why we work with our clients?
That is the number one reason why we accept them. And that is like so common. But there are other things that play into it as well. For example, the confidence you have when you show up on the first sales call, really
Mm.
sets the tone for the relationship you have with that client. And depending on the type of service provider you are and how confident you are, and this is something that will come with time and you can actually actively work on it, and how good you are at setting boundaries. Some people can experience the same client as a good one and as a bad one.
Wow. Interesting.
And I know that in the past, I've had a client that has been a nightmare client that we ended up letting go. And 5 years later, they came back, and I thought, I'm in a much different space now. They seem to be in a much different space now. And they had a bigger team, and they were no longer the point of contact. And it then went really well. Same client, same service provider, but at different points in time where we were more organized, we were more respectful of each other's boundaries and each other's timelines. I was more confident in saying, like, no, sorry, cannot do that for tomorrow. I can do that for in 2 weeks' time. And then that relationship was better. But the other reason why I see a lot of creatives saying, like, I'm working with the wrong client, it's actually not the client or the project that they don't like, but it's what they're getting paid for it.
Interesting. Like they're not getting paid enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can be working for an amazing client, an amazing project that lights you up, but if they negotiated with you to a point that you feel almost like disrespected or taking advantage of or not valued, that can turn that project into a wrong client.
Absolutely. Right. If you're just resenting doing the work because you feel like you're not being paid enough.
Yeah.
How do we avoid that?
Okay, so I think filtering is really important. So filtering can start on your website in the quote inquiry form and making sure that you've got the budget question and the first range gap that they can select is the lowest you can go. Because what that will do is that will automatically repel the people that can't afford the lowest you will go. So you're saving yourself time from getting on calls with people who will keep saying, oh, that's too high for my budget. Because can you imagine just like getting on calls with cool people with cool projects all day throughout the week and none of them being able to afford you? That's going to take a hit. That's going to take a hit on your confidence and in your business. You're going to start feeling like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to charge what I want to charge. There's no people that can afford paying that. And that's just because you got on calls with the wrong people. And so I think a lot of it comes down to how you're being perceived
Yes.
and the
So
job
true.
that your brand, your marketing, and your website, or even your referral clients are doing for you.
Oh, 100%. How many times have you gone to a website of someone and just immediately sort of almost self-selected, like, yes, they're for me, no, they're not for me, purely based on their website, either because maybe they look expensive or they look too cheap or they look like maybe they're not professional enough. Like we do it all the time. I know that sounds terrible, but we do, don't we? It's like that whole
Yeah.
like never judge a book by its cover. Well, I feel like as service providers, we are often judged by our websites.
Oh, 100%. And the job nowadays of a website in 2026 it's no longer our discovery channel, right? Like people don't, unless you've done heavy work on SEO, they're not going to go from Google to your website and then to a call with you. They're probably going to go from a referral, checking out your website and then deciding or not to book a call with you. They're going to go from an Instagram post they saw, or they saw you somewhere like on someone else's channel, or you have a Substack, or you have a YouTube channel, whatever it is. Those are the channels of distribution. But then inevitably, they're going to go on your website before they choose whether or not to book a call with you, even if it's from a referral. And so, what your website has to do is it should help you repel the wrong clients. And if your website only says, this is what I do, like, hi, my name is so and so, this is what I do, and it has your work, you're not giving enough data points to that potential client to self select whether you are the perfect person for them or you're actually not going to vibe and they want to go somewhere else and everyone's better off for it.
Oh, 100%. I always say when I'm writing websites, I always say to clients, like your website is like it's like the virtual meeting of you, right? it's like that, the evergreen virtual meeting of you, where someone can go onto your website. They should be able to feel your personality, what makes you different or unique. It should be setting a tone through, not just through the messaging, but through the visuals as well, of how much you're charging, right? You can,
Yeah.
is this like a thrown together website, and therefore that is immediately underestimating the value of the perceived service? Or is this person showing up like a pro, which is going to give me more confidence in hiring them? And yeah, I fully know that that's going to come with a higher price point.
Yeah, for sure. Oh God, and there's so many ingredients that can go into a personal brand and a website, right? That are going to help you attract the right clients. So part of it is perceived value. Part of it is confidence and mindset. And part of it is you shouldn't even be getting on calls with people who can't afford your services, because then you're not having a value conversation. It's more that it's not a smart business decision for the person on the other side of the call to invest that kind of money in your services. And that has nothing to do with the value of the service that you offer, and that has nothing to do with them understanding the value of the service that you offer. So I think it's important to say that last piece, because a lot of my students, they're like, Joanna, how can I convince the client on the other side of the call of my value? And if I see that that student has already gone through, all our material on how to get their website to convert, to have like all the right things in place to increase their credibility, to increase their perceived value. And if I know that they've followed the method that I teach on how to have a sales conversation that converts, then I'm like, there was nothing else you could have done. It's not a good business decision for that client, because look at the size of their business. Look at like how long it would take for them to see that ROI back. You were just speaking to the wrong person.
And that is so important, right? Because I've been speaking to other service providers as well that have said to me, there's not enough clients. There's not enough clients for the amount that I charge. And to that, I always say, no. That's not true. There are, but you're not speaking to them. You're not speaking to them in your messaging, and you're probably not getting yourself in front of them, right? But your website has to talk to those clients. And I think it's a mistake, well, not a mistake, but it's just inevitable. The longer we're in business, the longer it will be that our website is no longer talking to the client we want to be working with. Like, I remember when I first started out, right? I didn't even really know who my ideal client was, but I had a good guess, and I put together a strong website, and it served me really, really well. But 5-6 years later, that website was so embarrassing to send people to, because it was like, I'm not even, as a copywriter, I'm not talking to my ideal client, and I am definitely not showing my perceived value. Like, that was when I had my Sunshine brand, which I loved, and the color palette I picked myself. You're going to cringe as a designer, Joanna. Like, I found one of these like Instagram color palette accounts, and I spent 5 minutes just searching through it. And then I found one I really liked because it had a shade of blue and yellow and turquoise. And then I gave them to my designer. Poor designer. She had she was given those colors. And then, as I remember, like towards the end of that brand, like 5-6 years on, I couldn't even be showing up with confidence online, because I was just like, it doesn't show my value, right? And someone said to me that they were the same color, my yellow and blue were the same color as a British football team. And and after that, I just I couldn't show up because I didn't believe that my value was being truly captured by that brand. And that has an impact on my business, right? Like, not just because it wasn't showing my value, but because I stopped showing up because I no longer believed in it. And I think that is actually the biggest danger that happens when we're no longer aligned with our brand on a visuals and messaging perspective.
Yeah, when we have website shame, right? And we saw it in the challenge that we ran. Delia and I ran a challenge for almost 300 people. And the ones who weren't emailing were the ones who felt that their website didn't reflect who they were and what they were capable of.
Yep.
And so if that is happening, that is not a problem to fix soon. That is a problem to fix right now, because that is leaving you a lot of money on the table.
Yeah. Feel like this is such a big topic. We should run a workshop on
it. Should we, or are we? Hint.
Okay. You're hearing it here first. Next Wednesday, Joanna and I are going to be running a workshop on this about how you can be specifically shifting the value that you're perceived as, right? So if you're feeling like your value is perceived at a certain level, you're struggling to get those higher paying clients because your value isn't just screaming left, right, and center in your brand, that you are a high ticket, high end, premium client service provider, then that's what we call a value gap, right? That is the gap between what you're really charging and how you're coming across online. And Joanna and I are going to hold a workshop next Wednesday all about this, about how you can increase your perceived value and just really close that value gap, right?
Yeah. And if you think about like the journey of your potential client, what you don't want to happen on a sales call is for them to have sticker shock pricing, right? You don't want to say this project's going to be 10K and them be surprised.
Oh, yeah.
If anything, you want the opposite. You wanted the website to speak so highly of you, to put you in such a good light, to be your hype person, your best salesperson, to ooze confidence through your images, through your design, through the copy, through how you describe your services, how you describe your process. Maybe even if your process has a framework, that increases your perceived value through the quality of your testimonials, all of that. If that does the job right for you, if anything, they should be on the call and they should be relieved by the price that you say, because they're going to think, oh, from the website, I thought you were going to say more.
Yeah, 100%. And then they feel like they've got a great deal because they're already getting to that call knowing they want to work with you. You know, it's always interesting, isn't it? Should you have your prices on the website? And I guess that's a whole other discussion for another day. But I think at the very least, having that lower bracket on the contact form helps, because we do want them to be getting to the call with a high perceived value and a good idea that you are in their price range, right? That it's not shooting for the stars, that it's going to be completely unobtainable. It's getting that balance right, which again comes into how you're perceived.
Yeah. And this doesn't have to, like, you can hint at how much something costs without using prices, right? I mean, you're the best at doing this. So if you want to charge 10K and above, you're not going to be targeting newbies. So your copy can't say like, you just started a new business and now you need X, Y, and Z. No, like if they just started a new business, they're not going to spend 10K. I mean, sure, there are exceptions to the rule, but you want to be saying like, you've been in business for 5+ years. You already have a team in place. You have these pain points, and you talk about pain points that only an experienced business owner, maybe making $1 million a year, has. And if you speak to them, there's someone I really love, like Mariah Cause. She has this online course called Champagne Clients, and she talks about how you should only speak to champagne clients, even if you then have some services that could be for people who can't afford that big ticket thing. But if you only speak to those, they will want to come to you. If you speak to lower levels than where they're at, they're going to be like, this person only works with newbies. Like, I'm miles ahead. Like, I need someone who understands my business better, my problems better, who can execute professionally on time, etc.
Yeah, 100%.
So if we dissect what we've talked about, Delia, what would you take away from this? Is like, if you're having nightmare clients, if you keep attracting the wrong clients, what do you need to do?
I think if you're attracting the wrong clients, you need to change how you're perceived so you're attracting the right clients. Like, I think it is a case of reposition, not necessarily repositioning everything, but there is some positioning that needs to be looked at here. You know, how are you putting yourself out into the world?
Or maybe they already have the right positioning. They're just but it's in their head, not in their website. They're not communicating it.
Yeah, that's a problem that a lot of my clients have. When they start working with me at the beginning of a website project, they will often say, I'm doing this, and it's, they know what they're doing. They know their value. They know the other thing is like perceived value. And we'll get more into this in the workshop next week. But your perceived value is also like what is making you different and unique, because that is part of it, right? That's part of what, therefore, you pay that for that person because you can't get it anywhere else. And people know that. It's often in their heads, but they struggle to get it out. So I would say that, yeah, they are the main points. What about you? Would you add anything onto that?
I would think about, like, if you keep attracting the wrong clients, I would take an inventory of the clients they've had in the past and put them into 2 columns, like right clients, like good clients and bad clients. And what was it about the bad clients that made them the wrong clients? And figure out where in the process did they fall through a gap. Like, was it that you should have never gotten on a call with them in the first place, or did they seem okay on the call? You just didn't catch the red flags early on enough. Do you have some clients now that are not the right fit that you can let go of? And then look at how, like, maybe you could do the exercise of like showing your website to a couple of people that you just met, or like through a community or something like that, and say, like, can you look at this website and just tell me what you see and what you perceive about what I do and how much you think I charge and what the types of clients you think I work with, and see if they mirror back exactly what you want it to say. I would also think about, if you had 10x the courage to hype yourself up, how would that be reflected on your website? Because, you know, we've talked a lot, like even before we started recording, about confidence and how that is such an important piece of the sale. The amount of money someone is willing to part with is only proportionate to the amount of trust that they have in you fixing their problem. So that trust, you kind of need to like infuse it in them, right? With your confidence in solving their problem, you need to make them feel trust. You need to be so confident that the client can like feel at ease and be like, oh my God, thank God I found this solution. This person's going to help me fix it. And this should be genuine too. You should never accept a project that you're like, oh, I'm never going to be able to pull this off. And that, if you struggle with confidence, you can start with your brand and the website. Because if you show up to the call and the client's already like, oh my God, like, loved your website, the copy, the photos, whatever, you're already going to have a little bit of that confidence boost, or you already know they would have seen it before. And so the website would have done a lot of like the hyping you up. And that alone can also increase your confidence on the sales call. It's kind of like wearing an amazing new dress to a party. You're going to be a little bit more confident than that old dress that you always wear to every party.
100%. I love that.
Yeah. So if this piqued your interest, and if you do want to close the gap of your perceived value so that charging more feels easier, then you need to sign up to our website, our workshop. The link will be in the show notes, and it'll be next Wednesday at 2 p.m. London time.
We would love to see you there and just help shorten that gap so you get more great fit clients that are really paying you what you deserve.
And if you know us, you know it'll be fun and it'll be packed with value. It'll be a party, and we can't wait to see you there.
See you there.
See you next week. Bye. That's it for this week. If you enjoyed this episode, or if something here landed for you, share it with a friend.
Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss next week's episode.
And if you can, please leave us a review. It really helps new people find us.
See you next time.